All right, guys, back here on the Southeastern 16 with Chase Robinson. Tennessee is the focus here for one of our off-season videos talking SEC football. The Vols, Chase, you and I are coming off of recording another video, which if you guys have checked out on the channel, Chase gave his thoughts on sort of whether teams were a bit too high, too low, potentially just right, in ESPN's way too early top 25 post-spring rankings. And as you would expect, lots of SEC teams in there. But Tennessee was a team that I was sort of surprised was not in the mix. And when I asked Chase, who's the team that feels like that they should feel snubbed by not being maybe in that group, immediately said Tennessee. And I'm like, oh, yeah, they're not on this list. But I think that does bring up a good conversation as to what are, Chase, the realistic expectations for Tennessee heading into next season. We all know the talk for a lot of the time was simply, hey, what now? The Nico situation, and now we've moved on from that. There's a new quarterback under center. Obviously, a team that has to replace some key players on the offensive side of the ball, and we know the offensive side is going to get a lot of the attention just based on the fact it's a Josh Heupel team. But I mean that's the basic question. Like, what are realistic expectations for this Tennessee team as we sit here in May and look towards September and beyond?
You know, Tennessee's fascinating to me because before all of the Nico situation, I was kind of on the fence on whether I thought this Tennessee team was a playoff team or not. Dylan Sampson loss is massive, and to me, bigger than losing Nico. That's just my personal opinion. But now I feel like they're going to be good. This is a team that, because I like the roster, I think it's good, and we'll get into some more of these guys and maybe some position groups. But I feel like you realistically can look at this as a 9-win team. I think at Tennessee, 8-9 wins. Like I think they have the schedule where they can do that. A couple of road games are going to be tough for them to do that, but I feel like Joey Aguilar really fits what Josh Heupel wants to do. That's part of the reason he brought him in. Like he saw him, this guy fits what I'm doing. And so I think he will be a good fit. He's got great numbers, 3,000 yards in the last 2 years at Appalachian State. Yes, they're in the Sun Belt. They're not in the SEC, but he's a good quarterback. And so I think that he fits what Josh Heupel does. And so because of that, I'm looking at 8-9 wins, I think, for Tennessee without really diving into their schedule. I think the expectations should be high for Tennessee this year, even with all the stuff surrounding Nico. And I feel like this is a situation, Blake, where it's a chance for this team to rally and say, hey, everybody's talking about Nico. And I heard Josh Heupel say this, and I really liked it. A reporter asked him in an interview, like, talking about what they called the Nico situation. He said, no, we're not going to call it the Nico situation. He said, we call it the Joey Aguilar situation. Like, we got him. Right. And so I feel like if they take that mindset into the 2025 season, it's a chance for them to rally and prove something. Hey, we can still win games without Nico Iamaleava.
Well, you brought up something that I think we've always talked about, and we've done this ever since Josh Heupel took the job. It's that there is that thought that, okay, it's a Josh Heupel system. They're going to come out and they're just going to throw. And it's just high octane, throw the ball 80 times a game, and that's it. But we've always said, like, the running game is kind of the foundation of what they want to do. And I think you brought up the point that I would bring up in terms of as you start to figure out your expectations for this team. I mean, yes, like everyone's going to talk about Nico, and that's going to be, how many questions are going to be asked at SEC Media Day about that situation and different quarterback and that. And we understand, like, that's where all the attention goes. But to me, the most fascinating storyline is whether they can get the production out of the running game that has always seemingly been able to fuel the great elite offenses that Josh Heupel has had, right, at Tennessee. I mean, I think that to me is the thing that I'm most curious about, because like you said, if you just look at the depth chart right now, I mean, we're going to see, because I don't know that it's just going to be one of these guys, right? It's probably going to be the combination of two, or maybe needs to be three or something like that, because I feel like that's probably the only way that you feel like this offense is clicking to the level it needs to be. Because also, I mean, Tennessee fans, and I've talked about this, wide receiver wise, right? They had some targets that maybe they couldn't get. They maybe missed out on. And so I think when you look at maybe how the offense is going to be structured, we're always going to start with quarterback, but I may be just as fascinated at the other two running back, wide receiver positions to see how that lifts everything else with this offense.
No, you're exactly right. And as far as running backs go, look, Deshaun Bishop, Peyton Lewis, neither one of those guys are Dylan Sampson, nor are they going to be this season when they take the field. But I think if it's an approach where, you're utilizing these guys not for one guy to fill the Dylan Sampson role, but to collectively fill it, I think you'll be in good shape running the football. I think it's going to take three guys. And Star Thomas, he's a Duke transfer. They also have a freshman in there. His name escapes me, but those two guys are going to have to join in with Bishop and Lewis and be a workhorse. If you're in the running back room at Tennessee, you're going to have to contribute. It's not a one-man show anymore like it was last year. And so that group is going to be huge this year of collectively working together to make this happen for Tennessee. Because, yes, you think about Josh Heupel's offense. Yes, there's some throwing, but they throw the ball to open up the run game. And so the run game's very important. Like you mentioned, they're going to have that. I do like the receiver room they have. Chris Brazzell, Mike Matthews, Travis Smith, Amari Jefferson. Those guys, they were not very aggressive out of the transfer portal. I thought they would have been when it came to maybe getting a couple of more receivers. And so Mike Matthews, though, 5-star guy. Another guy, Braylon Staley, had a good spring at wide receiver for Tennessee. And then Brazzell, they're looking for him to improve. And so, it's maybe more thin than you would like in the wide receiver room, but I think there's some talent there. And I think collectively with all those guys, Aguilar, who can throw the ball, and then the three running backs that need to be kind of the workhorse together, and then some of these receivers who they're expecting to step up, I think the offense can look pretty good.
Yeah, like I said, Thomas coming over running back from Duke, had 213 carries last year, 871 yards. All 3 seasons at Duke averaged 4.1 or more yards per rush. And so I think he's an intriguing addition there in terms of, like you said, it's not just going to be one guy, multiple guys filling the way. And I think Matthews certainly, to me, most intriguing in terms of looking at the receiver to see kind of, what he can do for that group. And then, we see how everything else plays out. I mean, the defense, Chase, also been talked about a bit. I mean, we know how good the front was on defense last year, and it's like it's hard to compare to that, but still, I mean, you're looking at guys that you're kind of looking at the foundation again, and you're thinking going to be pretty okay up front. I think they're going to be fine in terms of being able to disrupt things and all that. But obviously, there are also still questions at other positions. But I think that's it, right? I mean, it's just I feel like the past couple seasons, at this point, we feel like we've had a lot more answers at certain positions, right? Because we, whether it was just experienced guys that had been in there, been in the system, or you brought in a guy from here or there that had played this many years or whatever, there's just a little bit more of that. I don't want to say necessarily doubt. That's a strong word, but like there are more questions than maybe we're used to in Tennessee. And the Nico thing only added to that just because it kind of fit the theme at some of the other positions.
No, yeah, I completely agree with you. I feel like, though, Josh Heupel he's consistent. He's a consistent coach, and so I think he's got the pieces he's need. They tasted the playoff. Tennessee did last year. They understand what it takes to get there. He understands what it takes to get there now as a head coach in this expanded playoff world that we now live in. And so I think that'll help going into the season. They've tasted it, and they know how to get there. I think their schedule is manageable. It's tough because this is the SEC, but I think Tennessee is in good shape. I don't think we can compare this team to last year. That's what Tennessee fans. I think you need to throw a caution here of don't compare this team to last year because it's a totally different team. But that doesn't mean they can't do some of the same things that last year's team did.
Yeah, and if we finish on the schedule, because as we said, if we're looking for expectations, I mean, expectations means like what's your win total mark, right? I mean, to me, what Tennessee has going for it is the start, the front of their schedule, where it's okay. You play Syracuse in Atlanta on August 30th, play ETSU September 6th, home against Georgia, home against UAB, at Mississippi State, week off, home against Arkansas. That's kind of the front part of your schedule. And I mean, I think it's safe to say right now, I mean, the expectation is that, hey, if you're a Tennessee fan, you want to at least be coming out of that 5-1, right? I mean, I
Yep.
think that's your expectation. And again, the Georgia game is the one that's going to really stand out. But I think to me that is where, if you can, with a newer team, with some guys you said we're going to be plugging into different places for the first time, need to see some breakout players at certain positions. At least it's not like some of these other teams where we probably break down the schedules in a month from now. At least it feels like there's a little spot here from this first, month and a half or so of the season where you feel like, okay, we can get some guys acclimated, get them ready for then what becomes, a little bit more of a grind. But still, it's like we don't, the road trip to Kentucky, I don't know. I don't have a great feel on what Kentucky's going to be, right? Oklahoma, we said, one of the more intriguing teams. But that's in Knoxville. At Florida, we think Florida's going to be a team that's going to compete, near the top of the SEC. But who knows, right? By the time November 22nd comes around, who knows? And then, of course, Vanderbilt could be a wild card again. Yeah, like I think there's plenty of opportunity on this Tennessee schedule. And I think as we probably rank them getting closer to the season, I don't feel like this is the kind of schedule where you're just looking at it and feel like, man, it's going to be really tough to get to 8 or whatever. Like I think, 8 or 9 is probably the baseline here, just based on what they can achieve with this team.
No, I completely agree. I really like their home games. The game, they got Georgia at home, they got Arkansas at home, they got Oklahoma at home, Vanderbilt at home. They do have to go to Gainesville and Tuscaloosa, but the Alabama game is October 18th. So look, you get to look. Joey Aguilar is going to go out there. He's been at Appalachian State again. Not to take away anything from App State or the Sun Belt. Great football there, but you're not playing in front of 100+ thousand fans as a quarterback. And so when he takes the field against Georgia in a Tennessee uniform on September the 13th, I think it's a really good thing that he's going to be inside Neyland Stadium and not at Stanford Stadium in Athens, Georgia, where they would try to rip him apart. So I think it's really good for Tennessee. The home games they got, especially to get some of these guys acclimated to wearing that T on their jersey. And I think it could be a good year, no doubt, based on the schedule for Tennessee.
Yep, that's why they hired Josh Heupel. If there are some things you got to figure out offensively, he's probably the guy you want figuring it out, because he's had a pretty good track record so far. Tennessee fans, let us know what you think. What do you think? What are your expectations for this team here as we sit, 4 months or so, less than 4 months away from the start of the season? What do you think about where this team's at coming out of the spring? Always appreciate your feedback, guys. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well. Turn on your notifications and join our It Just Means More tier here at Southeastern 16 for some bonus SEC football content this offseason and heading into next season. We appreciate you watching as always. We'll talk to you soon at Southeastern 16.